Experience the interactive performance installations of Abraham Ferraro. Patrick Harris shares what's new at Collective Effort. And catch a performance from Hot Club of Saratoga. It's all ahead on this episode of AHA, A House for Arts.
Funding for AHA has been provided by your contribution and by contributions to the WMHT Venture Fund. Contributors include the Leo Cox Beach Philanthropic Foundation, Chet and Karen Alpelka, Robert and Doris Fisher-Melisardi, and the Robeson Family Foundation.
At M&T Bank, we understand that the vitality of our communities is crucial to our continued success. That's why we take an active role in our community. M&T Bank is pleased to support WMHT programming that highlights the arts, and we invite you to do the same.
I'm in Albany, New York, about to look at the installations and performances of Abraham Ferraro. Let's go.
My artwork has always been about art itself and what it's like to be an artist. I do large-scale installations where I have a bunch of light switches and literally miles of extension cords. They light up art and not art signs. I've done performance work where there are literally tons of steel and wood, and there are these really laborious projects that boil down to the creation of a piece of artwork, like a drawing or a painting. I also make work that's more on the craftier side. I do these orbs that are incredibly detailed. I mean, I even consider house renovations to be artwork. This is the Flavor Space Saver. Black beans. I like to do anything that unites hands-on skill with creative thought. When I was making artwork in graduate school, I was making these pieces that involved a lot of interaction with the viewer. And at a certain point, it became obvious to me that the pieces were successful when I was around demonstrating them. So it became very obvious that I needed to be around and do a performance. And so the very first one that I was working on was the Knockout Artist. And it was a spring-loaded mechanical boxing arm. And originally I thought, wouldn't it be great if you came to my art show and there was this spring-loaded mechanical boxing arm that would threaten to punch you in the face as you walk by? Well, obviously, because legal reasons, that was a terrible idea. So then it became a natural that I was going to be the one who was going to get punched in the face by this spring-loaded mechanical boxing arm. And during the act of that, there would be these paintbrushes that would dangle below the boxing glove, and they would strike a canvas just as I was being punched in the face. And then over a 12-round match, I would create this abstract action painting. The boxing glove is actually left-handed, and so it's my alter ego. The Knockout Artist is essentially me. A lot of my work is autobiographical. When you're making artwork, you're always like in the process of beating yourself up. You're trying to create artwork, you're debating on whether or not it's good art or bad art, or if it's art at all. Are people gonna like it? So you're always in competition with yourself. The stationary climber was a 15-foot tall climbing tread wall. I would have these cables and pulleys hooked up to my arms, and so that would go back to a drawing table and it would pull a marker in the X or Y coordinate. And as I climbed the tread wall was connected to this drawing table, and it would spin the drawing table in circles. It would also push the climbing jig from the center of the circle to the outside. So you have these 4 different movements that would make this scribble line drawing. The performance pieces, a lot of them were actually really difficult to make. And I was really kind of jealous about painters and photographers that could just send their artwork to a gallery and it would get installed for them. I mean, you know, with the performance work, it was always me setting up these pieces, and it was really hard to sustain. People look at the knock art artists and they're thinking, oh, that's really abusive, and why would you do that to yourself? Well, I mean, that was the easy part. I was struggling, and I was doing these really strenuous, laborious performances. In the end, you really only have this tiny little drawing to show for it. The mailable artwork directions was really an answer to the problem that I had created with my performance pieces. I really wanted a piece of artwork that was lightweight and easy to transport. Originally started in 2008 when I got into a show in Scotland. It was called In Transit, and it was all about how artwork gets from A to B. And so I thought, oh, I'll just make a funny looking box with holes in it and mail it to Scotland, and they'll take it right off the delivery truck and put it on a pedestal, and that's your piece. And I thought everyone was going to do that, right? So I went to go check out the show online, and to my surprise, no one else had done anything like that. And that's when I had that eureka moment. I'm like, huh, I'm onto something here. It wasn't long before I figured out how to make a bunch of pieces interconnect and turn into this monstrosity that it's become now. It's pretty much taken over my whole house. I do enjoy it, and I like to move around so that it stays fresh. I definitely am compelled to make artwork. I really need to build things. It is definitely the thing that has defined my life. Who really declares what is art? I can say that it's art, but if it's not validated by the art institutions or by the art audience, then does it really matter?
Patrick Harris is the president of Collective Effort, a creative agency that supports the development of artists and entrepreneurs in the Capital Region. And the agency is growing. It recently expanded its footprint in Troy with Kickback Studios, and it's starting a retail program called Crafty. Jade Warwick spoke with Patrick to learn more.
Welcome to House for Arts, Patrick.
Ooh, thanks for having me.
I'm super excited to have you.
Word, I miss you.
I know, I miss you too.
Word.
So let's talk about some of the artistic endeavors you have been in. You're known for Collective Effort, but I know you've recently, if like the past few years, have dived very much into the creative field and building creative opportunities in Troy.
Yeah.
And I know you have this studio called Kickback Studio.
I do.
Give us a little bit of info about that. What is Kickback?
Yeah, so Kickback, that was like our answer to co-working and COVID, you know? So like we initially came out, we were like doing marketing stuff, but you know, as a part of who we always have been, has been like, how do we make space for community? And so co-working was our first example of that, but then COVID happened and everything changed. And what we learned out of that was that like, even during COVID, the people that kept coming back was always like the photographers, like the people that were like, I just need a studio for a second. And so Kickback is like our solution and extension, I guess, of that. And so all of the events that we host now and all the showcases that are happening in Troy, they're happening at Kickback. So initially it was like us doing like our own events and things like that, kind of like trying to set that foundation. But over the last like 3 months, with the assistance of Jonesy from Just Create, she kind of was like the fuel of like making it really cool for everybody that is like, you know, Jonesy. That 20 something, you know, that 20 something age. So like all the 20 somethings that are in the music scene that especially like in like hip hop, alternative and like R&B, which there's not a lot of space for in the region. they're all just like flocking to Kickback, and they throw their own shows now. And so yeah, it's been really like great because it's like kept us one like young and cool, you know, even though we're like, you know, getting in like the late 30s. But then two is just like to watch like the generation after us kind of like flourish and like have a thing that we didn't have is really, really fulfilling. So yeah, it's been exciting to watch.
So what are some of the things that Kickback does? Like, what are all the creative endeavors?
Yeah.
You know,
so
cover?
Right now we've got 4 open offices. Right now there's one of the offices. Basically, we like renting, right? We're renting really flexible, affordable space for local creatives. And so in 3 of our offices is D. Colin and Robert Cooper sharing an office. Jamella's in there sharing an office. I think they have their own office. And then there's a small like consulting company. And so like that's one half of the space. And then in the other half of the space is like a 7-ish 100 square foot, just like open box with an infinity wall. And we kind of just like let anybody and everybody do their thing. So there's been like workshops. There's been a ton of showcases, a ton of just like, you know, you can just book it to do your own photo and video stuff. And it's been a lot of that. Like folks have been coming in and really enjoying like learning how to DJ with Jamel. D. Colin ran a ideation workshop. Like how do you like take a thing from like an idea to like, I can make it now because it exists on paper at least. And like, what is that process like? So it's been a lot of that kind of thing. And it's been really fun.
Nice. And I know my first experience with Kickback was the Basquiat and Bops
Oh
show.
Yeah, that was the kickoff party.
Yeah, you want to give a little bit of like how you do the gallery shows and everything there?
Yeah, so Basquiat and Bops was our launch party for the studio. That was 2022 maybe,
Yeah.
Right? And so yeah, we had like 400 people show up in like this 1,500 square foot, you know, space. So yeah, it was really fun, and we kind of just like carved up all the rooms before they were rented, and just like giving people like you to do your thing.
That's true. A lot of creatives do just need the space. That's a big thing within Troy and upstate in general. It's like, where are the spaces for us to create? Because we can't do it in our rental homes, you know? You don't want to get paint everywhere, ruin your house or anything like that. So it's really nice. And one of the things with that show, Basquiat and Bops, when you launched Kickback Studio, it actually made me realize as an artist that I focus a lot in political art, you know? So it so that opportunity you gave me made me realize something within myself as an artist, because that whole show I did was very political driven, which kind of like light bulb, you know me.
Yeah.
Now I know you have a new initiative called Crafty.
Word, yeah.
Want to talk about that a little bit? What is Crafty?
So Crafty is like our makers market, right? So the studio, if the studio's for like all of the like photographers, musicians, that kind of thing, I was like, all right, well, you know, I got people that was like, oh, I want to paint and put my stuff up on the walls and like sell it like a retail, like a gallery or a retail store. I have people that make clothes. I got people that make like, you know, jewelry and like all these kinds of things. People just kept asking, you know, and that's kind of like our admin office technically. We built like our little living room as we always build in the front half. And then we just had like this really cool counter, and people just kept coming in and asking, like, yo, can I sell my stuff here? And so I was like, all right, man, we'll figure it out. And so, you know, at the start of the year, I started like kind of thinking about it. And then about June-ish, July-ish, I was like, all right, we should actually take it serious. And so we had our first soft open at the last farmers market in Troy last Saturday. And it was really cool. Yeah, we had, you know, probably about in that like 3 hours, maybe about 50 people came, about 10 people shopped. You know, I think every vendor that was in there at the time, I think it was about 8 of us, eight vendors in there. Everybody sold a thing. So yeah, it was like a kind of like nice little like soft launch, and we're doing like a direct to artist like payment thing, where it's like instead of us like managing all the money, I just put QR codes next to everybody's products, and people just can shoot it right to the artists themselves. Okay,
so how do they pay? Do you take a percentage? How does this work? Like for the artists?
I just asked them for a couple of bucks a month, just like take up a little bit of space, you know. So our floor, if you're gonna do like a thing on the floor, it's $50 a month. If you're gonna do a thing on the countertop space, it's $10 a month. If you want a shelf, it's $25 a month. And basically, you sell like one thing, and your rent's covered.
Covers your rent.
Yeah, so literally, you sell one thing and you're good. So yeah, it's really, and again, it's out of, you know, the necessity of people just like continuously needing space around here, especially, you know, the queer community, Black and brown community. Like, there's not a ton of availability for access to stuff like that, you know, and, you know, times is a little rough right now. And so, again, I'm just like always trying to figure out cool ways to invite people in, because it helps us with our marketing and stuff too, right? It keeps us like relevant to the ground. You know, we know what's going on. We know what people are caring about. And then, you know, who doesn't like to hang out with their friends? So
that is true. Who doesn't want to hang out with other artists and creatives?
Yeah.
So folks are having like a storefront. Do you see a difference between artisans going online versus a storefront? Because I've noticed a lot of folks are kind of like being like, oh, online shopping for like local. I don't know about that. Do you see like, do people like to shop locally more in person or like online? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I would say, at least in my experience up here, people like definitely really prefer shopping local in person. And I think it's really about relationship building and storytelling. I think that's really the thing. Like, not like they're buying the thing, cool, but like, you know, you can buy a pillow, you know, at Target, but like buying a pillow from you is way different because like they have the ability to know you and understand you and learn you. And then like, wow, I really like your story. I want to support you. And so, yeah, those like kind of in-person interactions is like one of the things I'm always trying to push people towards, because especially when you're like living up here, we need each other a lot, you know, and I think people often forget that, you know, because we're not in like that big market. We don't have the critical mass. And so we really have to like rely and lean on one another, and we need opportunities to do that. And so really like, you know, the necessity of space is really to try to create the opportunity for people to engage with each other more. So yeah, and you know, it just so happens that being up here, you can do that a little bit cheaper because, you know, the square footage is a little bit less expensive than New York City. So, you know, get outside and go talk to people, go see people. And I think like too, like artists, we don't really like social media like that, you know, having to be like, crafting a message and an image of yourself to then be perceived. There's so many things about that. It gives people the option to not have to do that and still be able to like fuel, you know, the community with their art and hopefully pay some bills and all these kinds of things. So
yeah, and that's great for somebody like me who also doesn't like social media. You know, where I can just go, oh, here, I'm going to put up a couple prints. I'll stay there for like a few hours, you know, out of the week and bond and connect with people. So it's really good because you're able to create an accessible environment for artists to be able to sell their wares, but also be able to connect with the community. So therefore, they're building sustainability and, I don't know, connection with folks. So they'll keep buying from you.
Yeah, that's what it's about.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Patrick, for joining us today and telling us about everything crafty.
Yeah, thank you.
Please welcome Hot Club of Saratoga.
I'd work for you, I'd pray for you, I'd be a baker or a maid for you. If that isn't love, it will have to do until the real thing comes along. I gladly move the earth for you to prove my love, dear, and its worth for you. If that isn't love, it will have to do until the real thing comes along. With all the words, dear, at my command, I just can't make you understand. But I'll always love you, darling, come what may. My heart is yours. What more can I say? I lie for you, I cry for you. I tear the stars down from the sky for you. If that isn't love, it will have to do until the real thing comes along. just can't make you understand. But I'll always love you, darling, come what may. My heart is yours. What more can I say? I lie for you, I would cry for you. I tear the stars down from the sky for you. If that isn't love, it will have to do. Until the real thing comes along. Carolina gave me Dinah. I'm the happiest man beneath the sun. Rumors are spreading about a wedding. I hear those church bells ringing. Here's the song that my heart's singing. Dinah, is there anyone finer in the state of Carolina? If there is and you know her, show her to me. Dinah, with her eyes blazing, how I love to sit and gazing to the eyes of Dinah Lee. Every night, why do I shake with fright? 'Cause my dynamite changed her mind about me. Dinah, should you
Thanks for joining us. For more arts, visit WMHT.org/AHA and be sure to connect with us on social media. I'm Matt Ragowitz. Thanks for watching.
Funding for AHA has been provided by your contribution and by contributions to the WMHT Venture Fund. Contributors include the Leo Cox Beach Philanthropic Foundation, Chet and Karen Alpelka, Robert and Doris Fisher-Melisardi, and the Robeson Family Foundation.
At M&T Bank, we understand that the vitality of our communities is crucial to our continued success. That's why we take an active role in our community. M&T Bank is pleased to support WMHT programming that highlights the arts, and we invite you to do the same.